Yeah, but Mr. Falana, you also know that these cases have a way of being politicized. And so you find, you know, in a case where the rule of law, as it were, hasn't been followed, that's when you begin to get lots of loopholes.
No.
Yes, and then you find that a case can be quashed on technicalities.
What I'm saying is this. Take a recent big guy in Abuja. The State Security Service wanted to search his house. As required under Section 49 of the Administration of Justice Criminal Act of 2015, that agency approached a magistrate court and obtained a search warrant to execute the search warrant. It took over 10 hours. Nobody takes a search warrant to the house of the poor. That's the point I'm making. This is a class matter.
But you still saw how the story
went.
Those
who are talking...
I mean, you saw how the story went. In many cases, in many instances where that story was being recounted, it was even forgotten that the SSS actually obtained a search warrant.
Because we're speaking for the rich. When Fela's house was invaded in Lagos, yeah, and the police and the army then said it didn't come out, they burned the house. Oh yes, nobody asked of a search warrant.
But that was under a military hunter.
No, oh yes, under a military dictatorship. In Odi, in Zakibian, in Baramoto, under the current democratic dispensation.
I totally see your point.
The army was sent there and they leveled these places.
Mr. Falana, your point
no, the point I'm making is you are not speaking for the poor. It's only when it concerns the rich that we suddenly discover there is rule of law. But when somebody was asked for somebody for drug whatever, I'm sure you know the person I'm talking about. The NDLA surrounded the South and issued a public statement. This is Gestapo. I laughed. It's only the rich that are house arrested. You don't surround the house of the poor. You take him out of the place. The point I'm making, therefore, is that under the current democratic dispensation, there's no fear for the rich. It's only the poor that have fears with respect to violations. Once under a civilian government.
Under this, what about this current one?
Wait, under a civilian government. My client, Fela, was paraded and handcuffed. Of course, I went to court.
Mr. Falana, that's the impunity we're talking about here, and that's the difference between Nigeria and other parts of the world.
Yes.
So how can this all be remedied, if at all we really want?
It's already been remedied by the law. For instance, in the United States, in Britain and other parts of the world, when you are arrested, even for misdemeanors, you are handcuffed. Michael Jackson, O.J. Simpson, Matador, all of them were handcuffed. Here, when a big man was once handcuffed by the FCC, the roof of the house of the FCC almost collapsed. The media, everybody, whereas the poor are not only handcuffed, they are lectured when they are being taken to court on a daily basis in Nigeria. But you know what the ruling class, what the members of the ruling class have done now? Under the new Administration of Justice Criminal Act, it's stipulated. No criminal suspect can be handcuffed unless it's violent, unless it threatens the life of other suspects, and so on and so forth. But the point I'm making is that under the current dispensation, the rich have no fear whatsoever about violations. Do you know that ours is the only country in the world where a big man can suspend his trial? It does not happen in any modern state.
Isn't that a fault?
You can ask for a stay of proceedings to suspend your trial for years, or you go to a court to ask for an interim or perpetual injunction that I cannot be tried. The poor cannot do that.
But that's a direct. Is that not a direct question on the integrity of the judiciary?
Well, the judiciary and the legal profession, because this I have challenged my colleagues, including very senior lawyers. Name one country in the world where a criminal suspect can go to court and obtain an order that it cannot be investigated or prosecuted. Because what you and I learned in the law school is that if your client is wanted by the police, you produce him or her and follow him or her to the police station. If his bail or her bail is refused, you go to the high court. If it's charged to court and the charge is frivolous, you challenge it. But you can't, because the danger of obtaining preventive orders in favor of criminal suspect is that one day a terrorist or a kidnapper or armed robbery suspect can go to court. Say, please, I don't want to be tried. Give me a court order. That is not part of our...
But shouldn't we question where the order comes from? I mean, it's
no,
one
it's being
thing,
questioned.
It's one thing for you to go and ask. It's another thing for it to be granted.
We're just filing a petition this afternoon against a judge who granted an ex parte order that a criminal suspect cannot be prosecuted.
Isn't that corruption?
It's not part of... No, because the Court of Appeal has made the point. As one judges, trial judges, don't shield anybody from prosecution.
Can't that be described as corruption?
Of course, that's corruption of the law. Of course. And it's being taken care of. But I happily, again, in fairness to President Jonathan, he signed a bill into law on the 13th of May this year. That is the Administration of Justice Criminal Act.
So the Penal Code and the...
Under Section 493 of that law, you can no longer stay proceedings in a criminal trial. You can no longer suspend any trial. All objections shall now be considered along with the main case when you are going to...
Are we implementing that?
No, not yet. I think the law came out, was signed, the bill was signed into law in May. The law has just been gazetted, it's just been published in the last 1 month. I do hope that the current conference of lawyers will provide an opportunity for lawyers to pick up copies of this law and go back to their respective, jurisdictions to then begin to take our law back from the members of the bourgeoisie that have hijacked and made a mockery of the legal system of our country.
All right, well, we'll continue in that theme in just a moment, but we'll go for the headlines with Olumide Macaulay.